Welcome back to Single in the Suburbs podcast. This week we're talking about the trouble with dating, specifically dating your neighbor. But there's so much trouble with dating when you're a single parent and when you're in the suburbs. We are professional women. We are managing custody schedules. We are in our 40s. And, it's just really hard to find time to fit in dates. I don't know, half the time I'm just too tired, frankly.
By the time you get off work and household chores, laundry and all that stuff, yeah.
Yeah. And our kids are all a little bit older now, so it's a little easier to get out. But when the kids were with me, I just wanted to be with them. I didn't want to take the time out to, I already had to cut my time in half. So.
And I think you have a tendency to think, is this going to be worth my while to even put on makeup and go out the door after a long day's work?
Totally. Yeah.
Well, and you're already dividing your time. So it's half, focus being work, half the focus being the kids, and then trying to find that time to squeeze in. Squeeze in a date here and there,
Yeah.
So
because people aren't going to fall through our ceiling.
No, especially not for the 2 years when we were all quarantining or whatever.
No.
That was a murder on our dating lives. But yeah, I think that it's tricky, when people are saying, well, you got to make it a priority. And I think, okay, but what other priority do I not make a priority?
Yeah. What do I give up?
Yeah, exactly.
To make this happen.
Yeah.
So,
and I think we do a pretty good job of making it work. I have my kids. There's 3 days a week that I work because I work 12-hour shifts in the hospital. And so I don't have my kids those days. And that's the time when I'll try to just bring an extra outfit, so after my 12 hours of a shift, I can go meet somebody for a drink, just one, because I'm going to have to go back home and go to sleep.
Yeah, it's a thing.
It's a whole thing. Yeah. So it's tricky.
Well, and the other thing that people like to tell us is, when you're not expecting it, but if you don't put your butt out there, you're not going to meet anybody. So here you are trying to get your butt out there and also keep your priorities straight and work schedules. Anyways.
Yeah. Well, and so the first problem is that, how do we fit it in? And the second problem is, how do you meet people? Because it's when you were in high school, obviously you had all the people around you when you're in college.
Same.
Young, most people are young and single. So that's the thing. But now most of the people, especially in the suburbs, are married. Our contemporaries are still married.
Yes.
So, if you're involved in children's sports, you're the one there on the sidelines just by yourself. Well, the other families are there. And so it's not as easy as people want to think it is.
It's not quite like the movies.
Yeah.
It really isn't. I've been expecting it to be.
Yeah.
Yes.
Expected to go to the Christmas tree farm. And
And some guy in a flannel shirt comes
yeah.
up to you and says, "Can I help you chop that down?"
yeah. I have
Well,
a tree
yes.
over here.
Well, we really only have, I think, the two options. Online being the thing of 2023 and this generation in general. And I don't know, maybe younger people know how to manage that a little bit better. But of a certain age, it is a shit show. Pardon my French. It's you match with somebody, you have these dead-end conversations. There's fake profiles, people that you bump into, married that, it's a whole thing. Online is, you have to try to find a way to kind of figure it out because it is really one of the main ways people meet each other now. But it is not fun.
Not fun. And I think
And we'll get into that more later.
Yeah.
for sure. And I think most of us can agree that we like dating organically better. I think we would prefer to meet somebody as we are living our life, doing something that we personally love. And, hey,
Yeah, there they are.
Yeah.
Prince Charming.
that would be nice.
Yeah, it would be nice. But it just doesn't seem to happen.
Well, and where can you organically meet people?
Right.
Honestly. So, I think in today's culture, what you are doing is going to, a brewery, a lot of young college-age kids,
Yeah.
maybe a winery, a lot of older people, a lot of couples, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, dates.
Or maybe an older single gentleman, maybe. But again, they're much older than we are.
Right.
A Hugh Hefner of sorts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We probably have some stories that we could talk about that.
There are stories there.
People that own a vineyard and stuff.
Yeah. But where do you go? I mean, I think that's a genuine question. Where do you go to meet people our age?
Yeah, because even if you go to a coffee shop, most people have their earbuds in or they're reading or whatever, and there's not that sense of community. And yes, we are doing a show that's a happy hour, but the truth is we're not huge drinkers. Like we're not, I'm at the bar every night or that sort of thing. And so it's not like you get a time to go to like a cheers bar where you...
And people don't interact the way that you would think they would. Everyone kind of keeps to their own private group in those kind of settings.
Well, it used to be that, if you were eyeing somebody and they were eyeing you, they might come up to you and say, hi, ask for your number. Yeah. I feel like that doesn't happen the same way
on
anymore.
Rare occasions.
Yeah, it's very rare.
On pretty rare occasions.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that with the dating apps, there's so much rejection that's happening like at any given time. It's mostly rejection, whether they're not swiping on you or they're not responding or whatever it is, that you get a little bit worried to put yourself out there in the real world because, yet again, like what do you have to lose? It's usually not much, but it's a death by 1,000 cuts. Like I've been rejected 1,500 times.
Well,
so I don't know.
We did get a little wild immediately post COVID when they first started to open things up, and we were like, Sarah had heard about this singles mixer that was happening. And convinced us to go. I think it was definitely one of my, which is not rare, days where I'm like, I don't want to go out. And I had like just gotten off work and I put like no effort in. Like I think I threw on a sweater and jeans or whatever.
And that was an
changing
from my scrubs in the car kind of a thing for me.
And you met us there.
I did, yeah.
On your way home from work. That was an experience too, a singles mixer. And let's just say we were young and hot there.
Yeah, it felt amazing.
Yeah.
There were definitely some personalities.
For sure.
I did get a date out of that, though.
Well, I did too, truthfully.
Oh, that's true, yeah. And we all got to know that guy a little bit. Yeah. That's not as much as he would like to know you.
Yeah,
but
that's another episode.
Yeah. Yeah, so it did kind of work out. It was unfortunate, because it was pretty quick. Like he started going into all his political beliefs pretty quickly on the first date. So it ended.
That's like a no-no. It's like Thanksgiving. You don't talk about religion or politics.
But I think, at the same time, it was a great opportunity to get out,
yes.
meet new people. And you never know when, maybe this person wasn't the right match for you, but maybe they have a friend.
Totally.
Yeah. So you never know. And for a while, we were wanting to start something like that.
Yeah, we had thought that'd be a cool thing. Bring a friend. And
surely if you have a friend who has a friend who has a friend, maybe that friend.
Eventually, friends will meet.
It's funny because I had a date last week or 2 weeks, and I actually really liked the guy, but he, did the cordial text back like, I'm not feeling it, and that's fine. Had great conversation, thank you, whatever, which is, it happens, it's fine. But I thought like he might actually be somebody that you liked, so I went back on the app, and I was going to just be like, hey, I know this is kind of weird, but like I want to show, see if you
introduce you to my friend Sarah.
I think I went on the app actually because I wanted you to be able to see the picture to decide if you wanted to meet him or not. But he had already deleted me.
Oh
I was like,
God.
I totally could have hooked you up.
We're
in it together here, people. But
let's help each other out.
That's right. It was a missed opportunity for him, for sure.
Yeah, we can definitely get into those deleting stories in the future, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think, what ends up happening overall, though, is you end up taking advantage of the opportunities where you do meet somebody. And whether that is at work or at our, Melrose Place, we kind of get...
As my brother says, never fish off the company pier.
Yes.
And I did do that.
I think we've all done that at some point or another, whether it's at work or at home. But yes, I think we end up taking advantage of the opportunities that we have. And so...
Because they're so few and far between.
That's right. But they do end up making for great stories.
Yes, which will give us future episodes for this amazing podcast.
That's right.
As you know, this is a happy hour show, so let's get into what we're drinking with a little segment we are calling Cocktails.
And that is COCKTALES.
Because these beverages come with a story attached. The cocktail for this week is the tale of Don Juan, and Caitlin has prepared a themed cocktail for our story.
And it is a sweet and sexy drink with a whole lot of vodka.
Some scandal.
and a splash of crayon because you know this is going to end in a UTI.
So mix yourself a drink, pull up a seat, and join us as we discuss the trouble with dating your neighbor.
I'll drink to that.
Yes.
So, the tale of Don Juan. I liked what you said. What was it? All names have been.
Oh, I can
All
say
names
that.
have been changed. Yeah.
I can see that.
Yep.
Okay, so, Caitlin's going to give us a great story here, but just so you know, all names have been changed to protect the not so innocent.
That's right. Yep. Well, this story begins like any great story. There's a handsome guy moving into the neighborhood, right? So, at Melrose Place, it really just doesn't take very long to notice when somebody moves in. One, because it's not happening all the time, like we mentioned before. It's a pretty long-term situation. But when there is a tall, handsome, age-appropriate male, single male who moves
Available.
in, who moves in, you definitely notice. I didn't have the pleasure of meeting him first.
No, that was us.
These two did, and they had a very
Different first
impression
impression.
than I did.
We did.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think originally we had met him at the hot tub, and I mean, I think we agree he was handsome.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was not an ugly person.
Oh,
Not at all.
no, he's tall and good looking and, you know, all the things that you would want. And then he opened his mouth.
And our first interaction with him wasn't. Yeah.
I felt like he made a really strong connection with one of our other neighbors, you know, talking about,
Who was a divorcee.
yeah, they were both divorced men and definitely crying over the past.
Yeah. So our first impression of him was really his interaction with that other neighbor, and we got out of the hot tub and was like, oh my god.
Well, they had connected on a deep level. I mean, there were almost tears.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
So that was not the impression that I had. I also met him first at the hot tub with my daughter, actually. And so I was in mom mode. And yes, I noticed he was good looking. And I knew that I had heard the rumors there was a new guy around. But he was definitely trying to hit on me, much to my daughter's horror. And I keep those things separate. Like, people do not meet my kids just because that's not really, until you're serious, there's really no reason for it. They don't need to know what mommy's doing when they're with daddy.
With time.
Exactly. But I definitely took note, and then we actually matched on a dating app at some point. And so I was like, hey, I know you. And, we connected that way. So I did know from the beginning, what this guy was about. And I, wasn't looking for a boyfriend. I wasn't looking for commitment. I knew fidelity is not going to be this guy's strong suit.
No.
He is somebody that would say he loves love. I would say he's a womanizer. That was like a really happy way for him to paint it.
Love.
But again, like, I have so much room in my life, only so much room in my life. And he was really a good time. Just knew it wasn't going to be a long time. So I think the first thing that should have been my warning sign was, as we were walking into his apartment one day, there was another neighbor kind of walking down below, and I hear her call up, "Don't do it, Caitlin." But at that point, I was like, already did. I guess we're just going back in there, see how this goes. But I should have realized that when he, was spreading his love, he was like Amazon Prime delivery.
Yeah, for sure.
Dropping his package all over the apartment complex. Yeah, that's right. There was stops at the leasing office. Yeah.
He moved fast for his amount of time in the neighborhood.
Yeah, when he first got there. Yeah, he was definitely playing around. But, of course, I knew what it was, keeping it casual, was very clear about, you're not my boyfriend. He really wanted to be. But it's just like, I can't trust you, So that kind of played itself out for several months. There's some back and forth about, are we together? Are we not together? These guys were very patient because they...
Yeah, not a fan.
We're not fans.
Well, I mean, I think it's more that we were concerned that you would get hurt. But, I mean, you knew what it was.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think once we understood that you knew what was going on, we were fine. But...
Yeah, well, and I think one of the things we talked about, which is, unfortunately, sort of just a sad part of being a single person or a single parent, where your life is so divided, is that there's a lot of hardship. There's in post-divorce, there's just a lot of hardship, and there's no way of getting around it. And what he brought was a lot of lightness and laughter and fun. And so,
And
well, he is. I mean, he is.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, but I think that he, that was something I wasn't ready to give up. So even though I knew, in my very capable, smart, strong woman brain,
you're a badass.
that okay, this guy is not worth this. I was trading sort of on my integrity for laughter and fun and lightness because I wasn't getting that anywhere else.
Well, it kind of felt like a high school hookup.
Yeah.
It
did. There
was
definitely
very
a
light.
youthful part of
Yes.
it. Yes, absolutely.
Hey, I could have made you laugh a little more. I mean,
You could have, but not,
Not quite.
Yeah, not in the same way.
I could.
Sorry.
Yeah, there's only so much you can do for me. Sorry. So, after it sort of ran its course, I was thinking, okay, this is going to be easy to avoid him, right? I'm done with this. He lives in this separate section of the apartment.
Like the other,
Like
the
the
other
end.
side of the hot tub.
It
Yeah,
wasn't
exactly.
like a literal neighbor.
Yeah, like I'm not passing him for anything. I'm not passing his place. Like it's pretty
He doesn't
easy
have
to.
a mailbox on our side.
That's right. But then we started noticing, very shortly after,
Yes. I mean,
him
yes,
walking
after-
around.
Always on our side of the complex.
Yeah.
I mean, whether it was, he would bring his dirt bike. He'd come riding over, park it in front of her house with my house too.
Yeah.
Radio blaring.
It was so obnoxious.
It was, then he'd start bringing women by,
Yep.
other women.
Well,
Yeah.
particularly one other woman. And that was what was so hard is that here's this poor girl and we're all going, oh my God, somebody tell her.
Yeah.
Like I knew from the beginning this, what this
someone
is.
shouted up to you, don't do it.
Yeah.
So we're like,
You had the
did we
warning.
shout at her?
Well, and that's the thing. I had the warning, but I also knew what I was compromising in order to gain something else. But for her, we're just like, somebody's got to tell her. Like she's not number 1 on the list. She's not even number 3 on the list. But I can't be the one to do it,
what do
like
you
I'm going to
even
come across
say?
as like the bitter ex something, or jealous or any of those things. And honestly, I just wanted to be done with it.
Yeah, it's really hard to be done with somebody that's putting everything so in your face.
Right. Well, I'd go to my parking spot and his latest delivery address, happens to be right on top of my parking spot. And so I would come out and I'd have to ask him to move his truck from in front of my garage, and just like all these ridiculous things. And that's, so uncomfortable when this is where you live.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and I think any time that you are dating somebody that's right next to you, there's going to be those types of situations.
Yeah.
And even when you're not trying to date them.
Yeah, that's true. You guys have had some stuff too.
Yes. So, you want to tell yours, Sarah?
Oh, well, yours is better, but yeah. She had mysterious flowers left at
my
her
God.
door.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, I probably have another story that's not quite as traumatic as yours, but mine was the unwanted advances. Yours were wanted advances, but I had this gentleman show up at my door. And I'd seen him around before, but how he knew exactly which place was mine was a little odd. But so he rings the doorbell or whatever.
And your kids were home.
Yeah, it was super
It was
strange.
weird.
Yeah. Ben was like on the couch, Anyway, so I opened the door and he's like, hey, I've seen you around. You're very beautiful. I'd love to take you out sometime. And like, what do you even say? Like, I was so caught off guard. I think I said, oh, yeah, maybe that would be nice. But, after I'm closing the door, I'm like, WTF, like, had he been a Don Juan, I might have been interested, but definitely not.
And I think being approached at your home when you're not expecting it, your kids are standing behind the door.
Yeah.
You know, it's a little awkward. So
was
maybe a different approach would have been better.
Yeah, he needed to catch me at the mailbox or something.
Yeah,
but
in the public space.
I mean, the flowers were nice. It's
well,
a nice
that
gesture.
came 2 days later.
Oh, okay.
So after he came to the door, then I come home one day and there's this bouquet of flowers on my porch with a note that was from him saying, "Here's my phone number so we can go out." And I think I waited a few days and then text the phone number, and I said, "This was a very kind gesture, but I'm really not looking to date anybody right now," which was a total lie because I was looking hard to date. But I wasn't looking at him.
Learn from Caitlin not to date your neighbor.
She was for comfort. Yep.
Yeah, but that was it was a little creepy because it was almost like a stalker type thing, But I think he meant it from a good place, but I was weirded out for sure.
Well, my situation was totally different because my situation came on the tail of an accident. Actually, I was driving home when I think we had been out or something. It was late at night, like 11, and I'm driving home, and right in front of our apartment complex, there's a car parked. You can tell there's an issue. The guy's in the middle of the street, just laying there. So I'm oh my gosh, what do I do? Is this
Dr. Sarah to the rescue?
Oh my gosh. So I park.
Get the AED.
Yeah, exactly. I know CPR. So I'm walking over there, but at the same time, I'm also realizing it's 11 o'clock. It's completely dark. And I wouldn't think somebody's going to just snatch me and go,
jump up from faking it on their death.
Okay, but I am kind of conflicted about what to do. Do I call 911 right there? What do I do? So anyway, at the same time, this one neighbor saw the situation and he came out at the same time. So it ended up, I wasn't out there alone with this person in the middle of the street. We got him help. It was fine. So I don't know if it was the trauma, but this guy, started being friendly with me, my neighbor. And he works at a restaurant, an Italian restaurant. And so one day, he offered me leftovers like he'd brought home from the restaurant. And I'm thinking he sees a single mom with kids. I mean, he's clearly...
Yeah, that's what he saw.
He's married. He's married. He's got a baby, So I'm not thinking anything at all about this. And then, he's like...
Except for that Elizabeth and I are not getting food delivery.
Nobody put any Italian
So he brought me food the one time. I was like, okay, great. And then all of a sudden, he brings me food a second time. And then he was like, hey, I'm going to have a lot of food tomorrow night. Can I get your phone number? And again, I'm just naive. I'm not thinking about it.
Right.
I give him my phone number. I'm like, sure.
What a line. I'm going to have a lot of food tomorrow.
Whatever. I don't know.
You look hungry. Can I get me
11
some
o'clock at night, no joke. It was late. He's texting me. He's like, can I bring it to your door? And, and this started this whole thing of at late at night. And I'm thinking, he can't be hitting on me. Because, he's got this beautiful... I mean, they're literally next door to me.
Yeah.
And he's got this beautiful wife and a baby. But why is he wanting to come over at 11 o'clock at night?
A trauma bond from
I must have been. But anyway, that was that story. It was... Definitely.
I think they moved, though.
They did end up moving.
But I felt like did you confront it at some point?
I did.
Because you just wanted to clear the air and make sure that
I
everyone was on the same page.
appreciated, if he had all the left. Hey.
I love your noodles, but.
Every girl loves pasta. But, I did have to set boundaries. And,
I'm on a no-carb diet.
Yeah. Sorry.
Just meat all the way.
You would have thought I could provide that, too.
Oh, my Lord. Well, it's interesting, too, because it's not even just where you live, because obviously we see people and there's a certain amount of, we've discussed before, there's a certain amount of, putting the blinders on just because it's a public, private zone kind of thing. But even, when you come home from a date, or if you want to bring your date home, it is a whole different thing. And I don't think this is necessarily just a single parent thing, because I think probably most women would feel this way. But I especially don't want people coming back to my house and knowing where I live, where my kids live, you know.
Sometimes
but
you don't even want to pick them up. You don't even want someone to pick you up for a date. Because I usually am like, I'll meet you there because,
Well, until you really know someone.
Yeah.
You don't want them knowing where you live. It can be incredibly uncomfortable.
Yeah, but I I'll admit it, exactly. I've made that mistake. I've been fortunate so far, but every time, somebody comes over, I'm always like, this ends badly. They know where I live. Or, are they going to respect the boundaries of like, you're like a vampire. You're only allowed when I invite you in. Like, you can't come over. There's no dropping off a flower. There's nothing like that,
Well, and one funny follow-up on the whole, giving him the spiel of, I'm not interested in dating anybody when I definitely was. So then one day I think Sarah and I were at the hot tub and he showed up and I had just been telling her like a crazy dating story or something, and I'm like, oh shoot, he probably overheard.
Yeah.
Oh, that chick said she wasn't looking for any dating. But he moved. Goodbye. See ya.
Yeah. Did he really? I haven't seen him in a while, but
yeah,
I didn't
he
think,
moved.
Oh.
I saw him packing up and I was like, whew,
That
no
one's-
more bouquets on my door. And there really have not been any.
Well, and I think we've all learned from
From Don Juan.
from Don Juan.
Yeah. He giveth a lot.
a lot.
A lot. And we take away what we can from it, that's for sure.
We're learning
You've never had
valuable
more
lessons.
cranberry in your life.
Oh my God, I had no more antibiotics.
Well, hopefully you can use our misfortunes to your advantage.
That's right. And if you want to try our drink entitled the Don Juan, you can find it on our Facebook or Instagram. It's Single in the Suburbs podcast.
It's a really yummy drink, by the way. So like and follow us. We'll be back next happy hour with the trouble with dating apps.
Juicy.
Cheers.
Cheers.